So, posterior pituitary now, as you all know, ki oxytocin is a love hormone, is a hormone which gives you attachment, hormone which is responsible for contraction and relaxation of the uterus. So, body says ki now, since my body is dividing, I need to make sufficient spaces. I need to have certain harmony. I have to have love between my cells, and if this love between my cells is not there, there will be disharmony. No one is going to function. So for that harmony to come up, for that bhaichara to come up, for that affection and love between the cells have to come up, only then it will be possible for the whole structure to grow. If someone goes away, if there is animosity, then the whole structure will be devastated. So oxytocin plays that love hormone, giving relationship, giving connection between the cells. So this is how the whole cells start up. Now, for contraction and relaxation, you know elastin as the substance. You know that if you are getting, if you want to settle something into a compact area, you need to compress it. It has to have certain elasticity, and if it is very rigid, it will not accommodate. So if this whole cells have to accommodate into the body, it has to have certain elasticity, it has to have certain subtleness. So that comes from pars medialis, giving an elastin substance. But what happens now, along with the elastin, there has to be certain fibrous material. Because of this fibrin only, there will be a certain structure which will be formed, because it needs a certain shape to come up. So this whole structure and that shape, that firmness, comes through fibrin. A very simple example of a socks what we wear, the socks, the threads, they are beaded into each other, but the elasticity is given through that rubber band which is tied up. So elastin and fibrin has that in difference into them. So for that fibrin, that rupture, vasopressin or an ADH comes into play, giving us strength. So organs develop from neuroectoderm and APOD. So I've told you how the organs develop and why neuroectoderm and APOD system in the list is on the peak. So now the autonomic nervous system, peripheral nervous system, pituitary, thyroid, pancreas, ovaries, adrenals, they are all the organs and tissues developing from the APOD system. So now going ahead to now, yeah. When the whole system is developed, there is nutrition. We want now the cells have started dividing. They have formed a certain structure, and few cells have started moving away also. So they all need lot of nutrition which is to be there, and from center to the periphery, this nutrition has to be transferred. So what we need is something to carry the food and nutrition. So blood or the angioblastic cells, a pumping heart comes up, which is very much required, because this heart, this tiny heart, gives you the sense that you have a life in between you. And this heart, beating heart, is very essential during the sonography, which is done during the first trimester, because it gives you the feeling, yes, the life has entered inside the womb and it is existing. This is the sign of existence of life in the mother's womb. So these are the angioblastic cells which come up, which are going to develop in future as your pumping heart, because this pumping heart has to give nutrition to everywhere the life begin. So first the brain center, the heart develops. So you know how it is important. Now the heart will say, if I have to pump, I will need something to purify me. So the lungs come up. The lungs say, yes, I will give you lot of oxygen, don't worry. But here, because you are in the mother's womb, here you are protected. Everything is coming from the mother's heart directly through the umbilical cord. Yes, I will develop as a lung, but right now I'm not functioning as a lung. After the birth, I will start functioning, but the development start once the heart cells are placed. Then the lungs come up. Now, after lungs, if I have to pump the heart, I'm working so hard. Now I will have certain waste also, so I need to excrete that waste also outside my body. If I have to excrete my waste, I have to go to that metabolic process. I have to generate also food. The food is generated through the liver. The food has to be excreted, so the liver, then the kidneys, they start functioning. So kidneys come into play. This is the process of where the excreta has to be thrown out. The liver, then the kidneys come into play. So organ develops from mesoderm. So this is the mesodermal organs coming into play. Now, as we say, everything is there. Now I need certain, now my steam will come up. Yes, I am identified as a strong girl. I have to be identified as a strong boy. So I have to have certain shape. I have to be called as a beautiful girl. I want a strong stature. I want a tall height, something like that. So, and I have to move. I cannot stay up in this whole room throughout my life. So I have to have my limbs. So I have to move. So in evolution also, you all have seen how our limbs started developing, and the need that I have to survive and I have to be mobile, that give rise to our limbs. So this is where the whole structure, the sclerotomes, the bones, the muscles developing from myotome, and the dermis, which is giving protective layer to the whole body, the dermatomes, they develop. So they are called as bones, muscle, and dermis. So they all give a shape to the body, a structure to the body. Now, what happens is, what is the connection now? This is the whole body from inside. Now, since I am into this world, I want to get connected to people. I want to exchange my thoughts. I want to have a gentle connection to the outer world. So, this connection has to develop between the outer world and the inner world. So, develops this connection has to come up through the organs of endoderm. They are nothing but the tubules, the tubes which get connected, the GIT, from the mouth, the esophagus to the anal. They are the tubular structure. The respiratory system from the nose to the lungs. The urinary bladder is connected to the kidney and it excretes out through the urethra. Everything is a tubular organ. So this whole tubular structure develops from endoderm. Now my body is going to get exposed to lot of stresses in the world. Now I have got connected. Now I have to come outside the world. Now if I come outside of the world, I have to face this hot sun, I have to face this thunderstorm, I have to face this cold weather also. I have to face all the stresses of the body. Though my sympathetic and parasympathetic area is ready, still who's going to protect me from this outer world? All my organs and tissues are very gentle. They all are very, very important to me. I want to protect them. So how this protection is going to come up? Danger from the outer world, heat, cold, sun, water, everything. So here the importance of the skin comes up. The skin and epidermis develops. So organs develop from ectoderm. So, here in this whole journey, we have seen how we start our journey from ectoderm, neuroectoderm, endoderm to mesoderm, mesothelium, and then ectoderm again. So, here we have seen that everything has followed the discipline of more important organ to less important organ of development. As we all know, the most important organ was our brain, heart, our whole organs and tissues of the body. Then to the least developmental organs, that is the skin. So the journey started from the neural crest, ended up into the skin. So more important to less important. So this becomes the first corollary of Herring's law of cure: more important organ to less important organ. So this can be defined. So how we have developed, I will take a short revision of all the tissues, how the layers are getting developed, because as you all know, this is embryological part, but people don't understand this embryology because they find it very difficult as it is not being taught to us through the college. Friends, are you all there connected? Am I going very fast? Because this is a very interesting topic and hope I have made everything very clear. I can take a punch over here if you want any questions or doubts, because this is the first corollary and here we are starting with the Herring's law. Okay. You can put up in the chat box if you want. We'll go ahead. See how these are developing now. Yeah, as we all know, the cells were dividing, and since the cells were dividing, the primitive streak came into existence. This primitive streak is nothing but the future nerve cells or the future brain cells which are going to develop. And here in this primitive streak or this bilaminar embryonic disc, this disc is bilaminar in the past, like in the beginning they are only two layered, and future the middle layer develops. So first the epiblast, which is going to develop into the future ectoderm, and the hypoblast, that is the future endodermal cells. So they are like a sandwich, one above the other. First, everything which happens is very important point over here is, once the cell, they are all in the center, but the first thing which is decided is you are going to be left handed or you are going to be right handed. The cell division, the cell, all the cells usually they go into the right direction, and therefore we all are right handed. But in few individuals the cell divisions, they go from right to left, or sorry, into the left side. So the handedness, why in predictive homeopathy we give importance to handedness. So always say, ask the patient to clap, ask the patient to clap. That will tell you what handed it is. That will help you to go into the mind of the cell, of the individual. That will help you to select the right remedy. That will help you to select that it is a right-handed remedy or a left-handed remedy. So the whole cell division starts. The cell division first starts and all the cells are progressing. This is the bilaminar embryonic disc, a lateral view. This is all happening inside the mother's womb after fertilization. So you all know that the cells, they move from right to the left, and second thing, every cell first tries to move towards the head end and gradually towards the tail end. Therefore everything what we consider is, everything is from the top to the bottom. So above downward, everything, every cell first moves towards the head end, and cells are consequently moving towards the tail end. But everything happens is first in the head end. First importance is given to your head part, that is the most important part, and then to your tail end. As we all know, please try to understand this also. It was first initially a two layered structure, but what happens in this between this two layer, something comes in between, and they try to, you can see my hand properly, you can see that in between these two structure, the this was your ectoderm, this is your ectoderm, this is your endoderm, and in between the mesoderm will start developing like this, right? So ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm, so that becomes a trilaminar structure or three layered structure. So an ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. So now you can see how it is developing, and in between this there will be a notch which will future develop into a vertebral column. So everything is like ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. In between is mesoderm. So endodermal cells only divide themselves to form few cells into mesoderm and few cells of endoderm. Yeah. So there is a certain definite order. The central axis of embryo, head end forms first. The sides also have equal importance. That is what I have said. Development starts from right and then to the left side. So I have concluded already that right side becomes very important, and therefore every cell divides from the right side. So everything has got a potential. So whatever, this was very beautifully described through this model of homeostasis. And we all know this electrical potential, every organ from the brain to the skin. So whatever electric potential tells you that toxins of the body are moved from the most important organ to the less important organ. This is a model which says ki when you are in a perfect health to a cured state, everything will come follow this principle of moving from inside to outside to important body parts of the body to the least important. So therefore when we are treating cases and you see a patient having brain fever, and when you are treating it like a case of convulsion or something, but eruptions come up, so the electrical potential is going, the toxins are being pushed up from more important organ to less important organ. So the electrical potential is following this principle, this law of cure, and therefore the cure is ensured. And in cases of suppression, in cases of disease, the whole process is reversed, and the cure is from, the disease will be like pushed or suppressed from the skin to the brain. So the whole process is reversed and everything is suppressed. The whole toxins which are required to be released outside the body, they get suppressed and they are moved inside and giving rise to a disease process. So even Sir has said in his 7 layers of suppression, when you are giving cure, the cure has to come up. The cure has to come up from the more important organ to the less important. So in development also, if you are suppressing a disease from the ectoderm, like an eczema which is getting suppressed, it will go to an endoderm to the level of lungs. You see that an allergic rhinitis patient, an eczema patient has developed allergic rhinitis going towards asthma. So you have pushed the toxins inside the body. If it is getting suppressed, it will go to the musculoskeletal system, developing arthritis, going further, developing diabetes, renal disorders, going further, developing hypothyroidism, going further, developing some brain diseases or neuropathies, or going to the mind, developing cancer. So this is the life process in disease. But if you have to give cure, you have to follow the order, the corollary, more important to less important organ, that is cure. So if you're treating diabetes, coming up gastritis is a good sign. If you're treating hypothyroidism, patient developing lumbar spondylosis, but what level of spondylosis? It should not be nerve. It should be only to the level of musculoskeletal. It's good. So hypertension coming up with asthma, brain tumor coming up with eruptions on the neck is a right direction. So this is where the process of cure is. So going ahead to less important to more important organ will be in disease process. So there will be many examples. You can label many of them, that skin eruptions with burning, itching, sticky discharges, they are getting suppressed. Wrong selection of medicine, the patient gets indolent, says I'm not feeling good after taking the medicine, my two bowels have become very disturbed. Usually I had to have very good sleep, but now my sleep is also disturbed. So the medicine is definitely wrong, pushing the toxins inside, going towards rhinitis, going towards bronchial asthma, again treat asthma, going into dyspnea, cardiac problems, constipation, joint pains, hypertension, going to develop diabetes, thyroid disorder, and further diabetic neuropathy, gangrene, and cancer. So this is the order where the more important to less important organ has to be followed. The disease process has come here. So if you are going to the cure process, it has to be reversal of cure. So now next corollary is above downward. So as I have already told you, when you are in the primitive streak, when you're talking about the neural crest, the primitive streak, which is the groove. So whatever happens is everything is moving towards the head end first and then to the tail end. Everything is trying to form this neural crest. The neural fold is building up so that the dorsal part is developing. So everything is cephalocaudal. First the head end, then the tail end. So everything is developing from above downwards in development. So you know this corollary why Herring's law has said ki it has to be above downward. So whenever you are treating a disease, you know that first the head and then the limbs. First we know that the head and the nerve system had developed and then the limbs had developed. It was never that limbs had developed first. It was first the most important organ from the head side then to the tail side. Similarly, the neuroectoderm has given rise to the mesoderm. Mesoderm was more important to mesoderm connective tissue, then endoderm to ectoderm, and ectoderm to neuroectoderm. So this is the whole chain of process which was developing, that is more important to less important, above downward. Development of nerves also take place from above downward. So, procaudal plate to primitive state, head first, then the tail and nervous system, neuroectoderm, brain develops first, then the spinal cord, then the peripheral nerves. So, above downward, cured, you will see in cervical pain. So, cervical pain, then shoulder pain, then knee pain, heel pain, something going against. Now, the third corollary is center to periphery. As I have already said, all the organs and tissues were in the center, then they had to move from center to another part. There were heap and pile of cells which were getting into the center, and you also know that these cells were dividing in the center. Then gradually the neural crest was formed, the neural tube was formed, then the cells between the ectoderm and the endoderm, then the mesodermal cells came into existence, and these mesodermal cells, they started dividing into somites, and these somites gradually built up into the whole muscular system of myotome, dermatome, and sclerotome. So bones, muscles, tissues, they were later on formed up. So everything was happening was in the center. So everything was in the center and then moving towards the periphery. So we all know these cells were dividing, and then moving from center to periphery. So this describes how everything has moved from center to periphery. Here it is very important. One thing more to be understood is the mesodermal cells which are in contact with the ectoderm, and the mesodermal cells which are in contact with the endoderm. There are two type of cells which are, now as I have told you, ectoderm was there and endoderm was there. Now in between came was the mesoderm. So something which was in contact with ectoderm and something which was in contact with endoderm. So the cells which were in contact with ectoderm and the cell which were in contact with the endoderm. So endodermal contact cell became the organs of the body, and the tissues which were in contact with the ectoderm became later part. I'll continue with this. So they are called as the splanchnopluric and the somatopluric cells. The somatic mesoderm is the mesoderm which is in contact with the ectoderm, and the splanchnic pluric is something which is in contact with the mesoderm. So center to periphery, as we all know, we have taken. Yeah. So somatopluric mesoderm is the mesoderm in contact with the ectoderm. I have told you ectoderm. So ectoderm यानी कि बाहर का साइड, बाहर के साइड से it is connecting us inside to the outside world. So the blood, bone, muscles, joint, that is the mesodermal organs. Now the mesenchyme. Now, the splanchnopluric, that is the mesoderm which is in contact with the endoderm, inner world. So, that will help you to form all the organs of mesoderm. So, they are called as mesothelium tissues. So, they are lung, kidneys, portal system, serous system, CVS, lymphatics. So, they are all coming under the splanchnopluric. This is mesenchyme and this is mesothelium. So, when you are talking about mesenchyme and mesothelium, this is layer wise. I'm trying to explain you how the cells have come into existence. So then center to periphery, again an example that everything is in the center of the cell which is controlling, that is the nucleus is controlling the whole cell, but all the genetic information that goes to the center, then it is through these ribosomes and these endoplasmic reticulum, it takes the information, it takes all the proteins which are being manufactured, then it goes to the periphery. So everything is manufactured, it is decoded, coded, the protein is synthesized, and everything from the center to the periphery is pushed out of the cell. Even the bone growth, if you see as an example, everything is center to periphery. The callus tissue is first deposited in the center, then into the epiphyseal plate which develops in the peripheral part. So center to periphery in process of healing. So exanthematous eruptions, which are the eruptions which is pushed up from inside to outside. Chickenpox, herpes, you see they develop in the center and then to the outside to the periphery. Smallpox was an example. Then center to periphery in cure process. So you know that pneumonia from the center to the periphery, again cure process. If you see exanthematous eruptions from fever, they throw up eruptions on the outside of the body, so center to periphery. Then osteomyelitis getting cured and eruptions coming up. Hair fall from vertex first. So this has to get healed first. So within outward, now within outward, how it develops. So if you see all the organ and tissues which are developing, what happens is, uh, consider a root of a tree which is penetrating inside the soil. So what happens, the soil is nothing but the mesoderm which is giving a compact tissue, and what endoderm does is penetrates inside this mesoderm and forms its branches of the roots. So what happens is, from within then outward, what happens is, first the mesoderm, first the development of the respiratory system is within outward. First the lung tissue, the alveoli, then the bronchus, and then everything develops. So within outward, similarly in the liver will happen, similar in the kidneys happen. So every development is within outward, so everything penetrates like this. So in the soil the roots go inside, so therefore the bronchioles, everything is within outward. So development is here. See here, the tracheal bloods come up. So within outward, end of 4 weeks, you see trachea, bronchial tubes, bronchial buds, trachea getting bifurcated, bronchial buds coming up, upper lobe and lower lobe. So something which is developing within outward. So everything which is within outward. Kidney also same what I said. The parenchyma is being penetrated by the endodermal tissue and within outward. First, this tubule will penetrate and then the collecting tubules, collecting ducts will be formed, and then later on the Bowman's capsule and glomerulus they are formed. So healing also takes place is within outward. So you know that when a wound is getting healed, the fibrin clot is getting deposited and everything is within outward. If you see, this is in the center, it doesn't heal so fast because everything is from inside. First, there is a scab which is formed, and every tissue by layer by layer by layer by layer, everything is healing first. There the healing has to be within outward. It is never possible कि नीचे कुछ भी नहीं सूखा हुआ है, there is no healing inside and everything is outside. So healing is within outward. So within outward, normal defenses of the body is, the toxins in the body has to be thrown out. You get vomiting, you get purging, so everything which is toxin has to be thrown out. The pus, the pustules which rupture, the pus has to be thrown out from the body. Any defecation, in sneezing, you have to throw out. So all these organs like your respiratory system, your GIT system, your kidney system, they all are the tissues of endodermal origin. So all endodermal organs are going to throw these toxins within outward. So the corollary of endodermal organ will be within outward. So if you have a cough patient and the cough patient is with lower respiratory tract, and the cough is, the patient starts expectorating and the patient says ki my cough is better now, I have started with allergic rhinitis and my coryza is flowing off. So this is again within outward, and it is getting excreted out from the body. I have to throw it out because this is endodermal organ. Endodermal organs are to throw out, so things have to be thrown out. Similarly, in renal cases, the calculi has to be thrown out from the body. It has to be pushed out from within outward. Vomiting, all the toxins which are there, a bad meal, a poisonous something, I had a bad samosa something, so I had to purge it. Either I will vomit it out or I will throw it through my stools, so I have to throw it out. So within outward in cure process also. So bronchitis getting into laryngitis, dry cough, peptic ulcer, gastritis, stomatitis, healing cystitis leading to urethritis.